If you have a mechanism to evaluate whether or not you're doing the things you said you're going to do, and you have an accountability system in place, your results are effectively, assuming that you actually do the things, your results are guaranteed. And that is the way you will make 2026 a different year, maybe the best year that you've ever had. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I help financial professionals stay in the best shape of their life without stepping away from the desk. I know your life because I lived it for 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift podcast, and I'm your host, Brian. And I hope you had an amazing Christmas holiday. Early Happy New Year to you if you're listening to this early in the week. This week is the last week of 2025, and I wanted to, first of all, thank you for sticking with me again for another year. This is now, I think, the 5th year of the podcast. We're approaching 300 episodes. If you're new to the show, if you're new to me and my content, I appreciate you for finding me and starting to consume a little bit. If you're an OG, I know there's people who have been listening to me since episode 1 and have been around since the very beginning of my journey 6+ years ago. Doing this new thing that I'm doing in my life. I mean, it's getting a little bit more mature as the years go on, but it still feels new to me. It still feels like yesterday I was sitting on a trading desk, trading bonds, and living the life that so many people that I work with now continue to live, and helping them make improvements, helping them live the best version of that life, helping them pay down and reduce the costs that I experienced creating some of the success that I created inside of my career. And that's my mission, to help each and every one of you who tune in on a weekly basis, because I assume you tune in for ideas, strategies, tips, hacks, whatever, to improve your life, because you are the author of your life. You hold the pen to write the next chapter. And I hope that I inspire you to write something different than you normally have, than you've experienced, than you've believed that you need to. I believed that I needed to live a certain way. I believed that I had to pay certain prices. I believed I had to look and feel a certain way. And I realized in your seat that that was all bullshit, and that I could change my life, and I could take control of the areas that were suffering outside of the office and do something about it. With my marriage, with my physical body, with my vices, with my mental performance, my mindset. And so I am on a mission to help you do the same thing. Whether you are an insider and a client and part of my programs, or you just consume my free content, this podcast, daily email, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you may be consuming me and spending time with me in my ecosystem, I appreciate you. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. I am feeling quite heavy, quite bloated. And so just so you know, your coach over here, your virtual coach, maybe it's your actual coach, maybe you're one of my clients inside my programs. I've been very honest with them that I feel like I really went after it a bit for a few days. And so for me, my new year, my getting back on track has already started. Now it'll have a blip or two in the radar, on the radar over the next several days. If you're listening to this early in the week of 2025, the last week of December. But for the most part, I have started to pick back up and get back into a rhythm. I allowed myself to have some fun over the course of about a week or so. And I'm back, baby. I am back. So whether you're back right now or you're thinking about getting back, which is probably what most people are doing, I thought talking about this topic for the last week of the podcast would be helpful, because this is very naturally a goal-setting season for people. It's reflecting on the year that just went by and thinking, how'd I do? Could I have done better? What do I want more of in 2026? And it's a very natural time for us to think about what improvements we would like to make. And I just said, I am here to help you do that in many different ways. Obviously, at the most highly customized way for you, which would be to work with me, or if you're somewhere in between and just want to consume the free stuff that I put out on a regular basis, because God damn it, there's a lot of it. That works too. And so this topic, this podcast for you, is thinking through sort of the concept of like, what if your results were put on easy mode for 2026? And when I say easy mode, I have to immediately correct myself, as I did in the title of the podcast, if you pay attention to it. It's actually simple mode, because the things that work in our lives are simple. They're just not easy. They're not easy because life gets in the way. And it's a very natural thing to have friction. It's a very natural thing to have weeks where you're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get to Wednesday, let alone continue to make progress through the weekend and Sunday and then into next week. And so while the things that we need to do on a regular basis are very simple, sometimes they are not easy. Now, there are ways to make them easier, to make them more structured in your life, to make them a standard, right? To remove some of the distractions that we constantly have as high-performing professionals. And that is something that we work on a weekly basis inside of my program. We customize that for you, removing the roadblocks so that you can get the results that you want. But in general, if we're just talking about things that you should be doing, I wanted to cover a couple things. Some of them are going to be pretty obvious, and others are going to be things that hopefully you didn't really necessarily think about, and will be additive to you for 2026. And so if you hear some of these things and you're not doing them, I would highly suggest that you start to do them as soon as possible. At what level of intensity, that is up to you. But I will give you the frequency and the cadence at which I think that you should be doing a lot of these things. And if you can do some of these things, I think you can get amazing results and it not necessarily feel like you're overhauling your life, because that's the key. We are entering a season where people are going to begin overhauls. Overhauls typically don't work, especially for very long. My Monday message, I record a mindset message for all of my clients. We call it the Monday Mindset Call, right? Because a Monday call is usually the big call that we start the week off on the trading desk or in whatever business you're running yourself. Usually you have a weekly meeting on Monday to kick off the week, to get everybody focused. That's what my Monday Mindset Call is for my clients. And I mentioned to them in today's, if you're listening to this on Monday, December 29th, in today's message, that frequency beats intensity. Now, let me be clear, and I was very clear with my clients. If you're in a program like mine, we are doing both. We are doing frequency and intensity. Okay, there's no reason to choose between one or the other when you're working with someone like me inside of a program like mine. But if we had to choose one or the other, for most people, we probably want to choose frequency, because intensity feels good, especially in the beginning. But as you know, intensity is hard to keep up. And so I was talking to them from the perspective of actually setting goals, because we're working on goal setting this week inside my program, and how to think about their goals, breaking them down quarterly, daily. What are we working on? How are we reviewing these things? How do we know if we're actually on track? So defining and implementing metrics in order to understand. But what most people do, and I'm opening up my desk drawer right now, is they set a couple of goals. They write them down on a piece of paper. They look at them. They feel good. There's a dopamine hit, right? And then what they do after they set the goal is, I'm folding up the paper for those of you who are not on YouTube right now and watching. They basically fold up the paper, they put it back into their drawer, and they close the drawer. And very rarely do they come back to visit those things. And I told them this week that it needs to be almost a daily occurrence, especially in the beginning, where you're coming back and revisiting and reevaluating and getting familiar. That's the key, getting familiar with the things that you want. Because your brain is going to look at the stuff that you write down on a piece of paper. It's going to get excited about it. It's going to think that it's accomplished. And it's not. You're tricking yourself into thinking you've already done some of this stuff. That's why when we declare goals, oftentimes, like most of the dopamine comes from all of the feedback we get. Hey, that's amazing. Great idea. You're going to run that race in 3 months. Awesome. Well, you still got to freaking train. You still have to get up every day, put your shoes on, and go run for the race, to prepare for the race. So frequency around what it is you're doing is very important. So for them, we're talking about frequency around looking at the goals that they set and getting more familiar with them. So for me personally, I declare to them, they're holding me accountable. We have a very tight accountability system inside of my program. Most people that I talk to would say, if I just had someone accountable to be accountable to in my life, everything would improve. Well, yeah, duh. So find somebody accountable. Well, whether that's paying someone in a program like mine or another program, or finding a friend that can hold you accountable, or a spouse or whatever, find somebody, something, a process. And so what I wanted to do is talk you through a couple of things that you might be able to evaluate inside that process. And we're going to cover your relationships. We're going to cover the 3 pillars of my program, right? Mental, physical, and relational performance. So let's talk about relational performance first, because that's the one that nobody ever really sets metrics around. And what you could be doing in order to improve areas of your personal relationships, most specifically the ones that are probably the most important to you, which is your family, your spouse, and your kids, but also your social relationships, right? And so the 2026 simple, not easy button for you to dramatically improve your relationships: get a weekly meeting with your wife on the calendar. Now, let me be very clear, all right, and fess up to you. My wife and I began doing this in early 2025. We were fairly consistent with it over the first 3 or 4 months. Then things became a bit more sporadic. We had conflicts come up. We had kids' activities come up. And it took a back seat, and we allowed the busyness of our lives to get in the way of our weekly meeting. And over the last several months, my wife and I have not had a weekly meeting. And so this is me being accountable to everyone who is listening to this right now. My wife and I will be restarting our weekly meeting in 2026 because it provided a ton of value for us. It allowed us to connect on a weekly basis. Now, what do you talk about in your weekly meeting? Well, a number of things. Number one, you handle the family business. You talk through schedules. You look at what's ahead for the week. I don't think you need to do this weekly, but we would talk about occasionally our finances and just refresh what's going on and how we're doing, because I control aspects of our finances that my wife doesn't really pay attention to. And for her to know how we're doing is very helpful for her, because it gives her some comfort around we're going to be okay. She just sees money going out the door. I see where it's invested. I see it coming into certain places. I allocate it for us as a family, which helps me when we have massive credit card bills, or we have big spending months, or we have low revenue months. It affects me too, but I have access to knowing that we're going to be okay, maybe a little bit more so than she does. And so for me to update her is very important for her. Now, I wish it helped us stop spending so much damn money, but that's another topic for another time. And so we check in, we talk finances, we talk family business, we set a date for ourselves. Now, let's also be clear. I know who I'm talking to. A weekly date night may not be realistic for you right now in this season of your life. I work with clients who are out multiple nights per week. They have a young family, and getting out with their wife on a traditional date may not be realistic. And so maybe it's a 2 nights a month thing. Maybe you have 1 night every month that's rock solid, and then you do your best at the weekly meeting to find another time. And maybe this week there is no other time, but it's communicated. You guys talk to each other about it. You know what's happening. You then put the date on the calendar for the following week. There's things to look forward to. When we know that we have things on our calendar, we can look forward to them. We can plan around them, and it provides us some comfort. The same thing works. It works the same way with your wife. And so, a weekly meeting to talk the business of the family business is very important. Here's what else we do in our weekly meeting. All right, we are allowed to tell each other how we're showing up. Now, here's the kicker. For my guys, it's going to be the kicker and the balls, because the way my wife and I structure this meeting is that she is allowed to talk to me about how I have shown up for her. All right, I am not allowed to opine upon how I've shown up for her, because it's what she feels. I don't get the opportunity to tell her that she's wrong. I don't get the opportunity to tell her that she's misunderstood how I've handled this week. I don't get to defend myself. The only thing I get to do is say, thank you, honey, for the feedback. I appreciate it. Okay, and so I would, as a bonus, I would suggest that you give each other a safe space to express how you have shown up for each other on the particular past week. And it'll be a very eye-opening discussion for you, especially for the guys, right? But it's also your opportunity to communicate with her. Regularly, I'm telling my wife that I need this from her, or I would like more from her in this particular area or that particular area. It's a great time for you guys to be open with each other. And oftentimes, we don't have the moments to do that. It's not that we don't have, our wives are not open to it, or you're not open to it. It just happens in the wrong moment. And when it happens in the wrong moment, it's miscommunicated, it's misrepresented, it's not delivered well, especially in my case. I'm very poor at timing of delivery of things sometimes. I tend to be passive aggressive. I tend to hold things in. And then all of a sudden, at the wrong time, I snap, or I deliver a message that is the right, it has the right meaning behind it, but it's completely the wrong time. And if it's the wrong time, it gets missed, it gets misconstrued, and it doesn't help you at all. And so this is a safe space, a moment where they can expect that they're going to be getting some feedback from you, and you can expect that you're going to be getting some feedback from them. Weekly meeting with your wife, can't recommend it enough. All right, it's something that you're not doing that would make 2026 a whole lot more simple, not easy, because I just said it's not easy to keep this weekly date on the calendar for you guys. Okay, the next thing that I would suggest you do in terms of your relationships is regular notes or text messages to your family members, your kids, your spouse, anybody else who's in your house who you care about. Because you are busy, because you are constantly out of the house, because you leave before they wake up, because you come home after they go to bed sometimes. It is a way for you to communicate. It is hard for you to talk, have a normal connected conversation in the middle of the workday. I get it. My wife used to call me in the middle of work, and she was kind of trolling me sometimes, like, hey, what's going on? I'd be like, I can't talk to you right now. She's like, I know, I'm just kind of messing with you. I just wanted to hear your voice. I love you. I'll talk to you later. And so being able to use technology in order to let them know that you're thinking about them, that you care about them, that you miss them, that you want to be with them, but you're not with them right now for whatever reason is very, very helpful. So regular notes with your family members is huge. If your kids are too young for text messages, write them a note. If they don't read yet, draw them a picture. Leave it on the kitchen table before you go to the office in the morning. Huge, huge impact for me in my life when my kids were younger, I promise you. All right, let's move to physical stuff. This is kind of the easiest stuff to understand and to implement, but these are things that you're probably not doing on a regular basis. All right, I'm going to talk more conceptually high level. Number one, all right, you got to move more. You got to move more. I don't think that's a revolutionary thing to say, but most people are not moving enough. 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 steps a day if you have goals of changing your body composition. I won't get into the reasons why. I talk about it all the time, but you got to move more. Now, here's the simple, not easy part of moving more, all right? 2 ways to do it, okay? Number 1, put a walking pad in your office, all right? Move more at work. Move around on phone calls. You've heard me say this over and over and over again, all right? If you can put a walking pad on in your office, I've had clients double and triple the amount of steps that they take on a regular basis. If you work on a trading floor, if you work in an open space and you can't put a walking pad in your office, I get it. Maybe you have a side office. Maybe you are on the desk and you also have an office. So maybe you kind of sit with the team, but you also have a place that you go to for meetings. Put it where you can. Right? If you can't put one in the office, I get it. Get a treadmill for at home. Get a walking pad for at home if you work from home 1 or 2 days a week. Maximize the amount of steps. You don't have to take 10,000 steps every single day. You could take 7,000 steps 3 or 4 days a week, and you could take 12 to 15 the other 2, 3, or 4 days per week. It is an average, right? Just like our calories are not the same every single day, right? You can move more some days, move less other days, if that is your schedule. So we develop a unique set of options for you based on your schedule. So walking pad at work, treadmill at home. The other thing you need at home is you need a set of dumbbells and a bench, all right? And I say that as a kind of placeholder for you need some fitness at home, because a lot of times during your work week, you're not going to be able to get to the gym. You're going to be traveling. The calendar is just going to be too busy. So to have something at home that you can hit for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 15 minutes, 37 minutes, whatever the hell it is, right? You have a go-to. I'm staring at my dumbbells and my bench right now beyond the camera. All right, I can see them during my workday. I can trip over them sometimes. You better believe that most of the time when I don't want to do it, I stare at it, I feel a little bit guilty about it, and I pick them up anyway. So to be able to have something that you can go to is very important. Now, you should have a dedicated gym that you go to, and you should have a regular fitness routine. All right, but in addition to, you need to have this stuff at home. The next thing you need to do from a fitness standpoint, and this kind of weaves back into the family planning, is you got to take advantage of your weekends. Your weekends are critical. I work with many guys who don't see their families much from Monday to Friday. I work with many guys who cannot physically get to a gym because of their commutes and their commitments around work. They struggle to get to the gym between Monday and Friday. And so therefore we have some options at home, but they must. I will repeat this with a capital M-U-S-T. They must take advantage of their weekends and earn a little bit of the deficit that they create for themselves back on Saturday and Sunday, or even Friday night when they get home. Taking advantage of your weekends will dramatically improve your performance. Most of the time we view the weekend as the time to relax and to recover and to recharge, and that is definitely possible. A lot of our weekends are very busy. A lot of our weekends are spent going to kids' activities, going to travel tournaments, going to dance competitions, doing stuff socially. For a lot of us, though, social engagements tend to get reduced in the winter months. So use some of this extra time that you have on the weekends. Get some fitness in, and also plan your week. Plan your week. Know what's coming the following Monday through Friday. One of the most important things inside my program that I have clients do is complete a check-in process with me each weekend. We call it your ACP, your accountability, your commitment, and your preparation. Holding yourself accountable to the things you said you were going to do last week. Committing to what you're going to improve or do differently this week. And then preparing for any of the obstacles that come along given your unique schedule. When you do that, you have an anchor. You have an anchor for the week. You're able to come back to the process next week and check in. And it creates this structure, the same type of structure that you have in your professional life. You develop it in your personal life. And if you simply just looked at your professional life and some of the systems and structure and planning and accountability that you have in your professional life, if we shifted it over to your personal life, which is effectively what I help people do, your personal life, your life outside the office will dramatically improve over time. And so having a plan each week that you develop on your weekend, not on Monday, not on Monday night, not on Tuesday morning, on Sunday. Sunday's got to be your first day of the week. All right, so your weekends are critical in 2026 if you want to hit the simple yet not easy button. I say that because things are going to get in the way. NFL playoffs will be on. You're going to have kids stuff to do. There's going to be a snowstorm. You're going to have to figure out like your snow shoveling or whatever. All of this stuff's going to get in the way of your meeting with your wife and your plan for yourself for the week. But if you can create 30 minutes on a Sunday to do those two things, your week will dramatically improve. Now let's get to what you're doing on a daily basis. All right? On a daily basis, you are likely not going to bed early enough, and you are likely not getting up early enough. For most people. Most people. All right? If you can simply go to bed a little bit earlier and get up a little bit earlier, you can dramatically change your life over the course of a year, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? One of the most important things I've ever done is start to go to bed earlier. It is so damn simple. It is so not easy to do. How do we do it? Well, first of all, go to the show notes of the podcast and download the Peak Productivity Guide that I am including for free for you as a resource for you to take advantage of 2026 and get better results. In that Peak Productivity Guide, you are going to see and hear and look at me talk about some specific tactics. So we won't get into all of them, but some of the most important ones are developing a process for you at night to shut down sooner, PM alarms, airplane mode, things like that, waking up in the morning with no snooze button. All right, some specifics that you can do. So rather than me taking up time talking about it now, go to the show notes, download the Peak Productivity Guide. It'll be there for you. It's my free resource for you for 2026 so that you can get more productive during your week. When you do wake up early, because you got to bed earlier, because you didn't hit the snooze button, I think a huge anchor, a very important anchor for most people is to get some fitness in before their day starts. Now, if you're an entrepreneur like me and you can kind of craft your own schedule and not every day looks the same, and you have a gym session scheduled for 11 a.m. on Tuesday because you have calls from 5 in the morning because you're talking to your East Coast clients all the way through to 11, and you work 3/4 of a day before 11 a.m., which is quite frankly some of my days. Cool. Go to the gym at 11. Awesome. But for most people, 99% of the people that are going to listen to this, that schedule doesn't really work. And I understand that. I'm just telling you how my life is sometimes. But for most people, waking up and attacking your physicality, handling your fitness, getting it out of the way is the most important thing you can do. Why? Number one, because no one's really looking for you at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., especially relative to the amount of people that are looking for you at 11 a.m. or 4 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. when your family needs you after work, or when client obligations happen, or when those things tend to pop up, or quite frankly, when you're just goddamn too tired to do anything but go home and chill the frick out. I'm trying to curse less in 2026. So you're going to hear me say things like frick. All right, I probably shouldn't even say goddamn, but I'm working on it. And so for you, getting it out of the way in the morning is going to be so critical. Also, as an anchor, when's the last time you decided to have a bunch of beers, right after a workout? Now, I know that you're probably not going to have a bunch of beers before work on a Tuesday, but the point is you're likely to eat maybe a healthier breakfast. You're likely to continue that momentum on throughout the day because you get it in early. It's your anchor for the day. And so for me, most days I still train early, even though I don't have to. I could build my schedule so that it looks like 11 a.m. gym. I wake up and get on client calls, right, from 5 in the morning until 11. I've worked 6 full hours already. I could go to the gym now. That does work for me sometimes. But what really works for me, what creates the most amount of success for me, is getting up and getting some fitness in. So make sure you download the Peak Productivity Guide in the show notes. Take advantage of your evenings. It'll impact your mornings. If you try to just wake up earlier in 2026 without having a plan for your evenings, you will fail. You will fail. I'm telling you. All right? So handle your evenings first. Let's talk about what's going in your mouth. Okay? Eating more of the same stuff. We call it blueprint days inside my program. Eating more whole foods from as close to nature as possible. Prioritizing protein and fiber. I won't get into the details of all this. But if there are things that are healthy or healthier and you enjoy them, simplify. Eat more of them. Stop having so many choices for breakfast and lunch. Keep the variety in your life to dinner, because like dinner involves families. Dinner involves other people, clients. When you're eating by yourself, that's the main message here. When it's just you, simplify it. Be less complex. Be boring. Boring really works when it comes to nutrition. Now, I'm not saying eat a piece of boiled chicken and steamed vegetables all the time. Sometimes that's the base, but you can spice it up. But be boring in the sense that you give yourself limited options. Think Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg wearing the same damn clothes on a daily basis because they removed the decision fatigue of trying to figure out what they're going to put on. I wear a Success Lift t-shirt on these videos, and I also wear a hoodie that has kind of my brand colors as well when it's cooler out in my office. I don't think about what I'm going to wear. I just put on the same shirt when I put a video on. I keep the shirt right next to my desk. I don't even put it in my room. I keep it in my office. So that when I do a client video, I put the shirt on or I put the hoodie on. Simplify your choices. It removes the fatigue of making decisions. When you open up your fridge and there's not much in there and you got to figure it all out, the tendency for you to close it and say, F it, I'm just going to order takeout is so dramatically high. So eat a lot of the same stuff. Have a plan. If you don't have a plan, I would suggest that you find a professional to help you. This is not a pitch to hire me, but that is one of the many things that I do with clients. Next, in terms of simple but not easy, maybe right now it's easy because your liver needs a break, but structurally reducing alcohol in your life will dramatically improve your results in 2026. And I won't say much more about that. You can go back to last week's podcast where I talk about the relationship between alcohol and food and typically how intertwined they are. They don't have to be. They can be mutually exclusive. It's just so hard to be able to separate the two. It's possible, it's just tough to do. And so I would highly suggest that you get more strategic with your alcohol intake in 2026. And you can do that during your weekly plan on Sundays. And that's one thing that I ask clients to do, especially during a season like this. Start to look at, when am I going to consume alcohol? What functions do I have this week that require me potentially to drink? Do I have to drink at them? Could I develop a strategy to maybe reduce it? Could I walk around? I've had clients walking around Christmas parties with Yeti cups for the last week or so. And yes, of course, there's vodka in the Yeti cups sometimes, but other times there's just club soda in there. And no one knows the difference. And they feel a whole lot better when they do it that way. So having a plan, whatever that plan is for you. The last thing, and I just touched upon it a little bit over the last couple of minutes, is if you are not regularly auditing and reviewing your performance. Now, whether that be on the weekend or whether it just be in general. I mentioned goal setting with my clients this week. We're talking a lot about goal setting inside of our program. And my message to them was frequency, not intensity, right? Frequency, not intensity. Reviewing and auditing what you're doing on a daily and weekly basis will change your life. If you can time collapse the amount of time that it takes you to realize that you're off track, you will get dramatically better better results. Your results will improve exponentially just by quickening, speeding up the feedback loop. We want to get feedback quicker. Think about the office. You have a very fast feedback loop. You implement change quickly. We don't do it in our personal life. We don't do it. We realize we have this friction with our spouse and we don't handle it. We realize we're eating too much, we're drinking too much, we're not working out enough, and we kick the can down the road. If you have a mechanism to evaluate whether or not you're doing the things you said you're going to do, and you have an accountability system in place, your results are effectively, assuming that you actually do the things, your results are guaranteed. And that is the way you will make 2026 a different year. Maybe the best year that you've ever had, but a different year. Different meaning you will make less promises that just kind of go and vanish and vaporize by February, March, April. Because you're constantly coming back to a process. You're getting feedback from people around you. You're evaluating data. We're not going off of vibes and feels. We're going off of facts. And the facts in our lives don't have to care about our feelings. Now, we are human beings and we bring feelings into it. And so having someone that you can work alongside with, drive the car with someone riding shotgun, to say, hey man, we might be in the wrong neighborhood right now. You just made a wrong turn. To know instantly that you've made a wrong turn is very powerful. And that's one of the things that we do inside the program. And so if you want to get better results in 2026, put some of these processes into place for yourself. I guarantee you you'll have a simpler, not easy, but simpler path ahead. For everyone who has tuned in for most, all, some, any, this one episode of 2025, I appreciate you. I'm super excited to continue this journey with you in 2026 and beyond. We're going to be bringing some client conversations back to the podcast in 2026 as well. It'll primarily still be me, but we're going to be doing some different things with the podcast too. I want to let you under the hood of what I do with clients a little bit more. I want you to hear from some of them because they're just like you. I'm just like you, but so are they. And so I appreciate you. I wish you a very happy new year. I hope you're having a great holiday, and I'll see you in January. Take care.